Hi and welcome everyone. This is Michael Arias and this is an Aussie dollar chart. US, sorry, Aussie dollar against the US dollar chart. And in this video, I'm going to break it down into two 5-minute segments. One, we'll be talking about the bigger picture, simply because I haven't done a video on the Aussie dollar for a while. And the other 5 minutes will be for the smaller degree moves that I'm anticipating over the shorter term and moving into the future. So, over and above all, I believe that this move down since the Aussie dollar floated back in, I think it was the 80s, but this chart goes back to the 70s. I believe this move down was the beginning of a zigzag pattern. Now, if that's to be accurate, the then it's basically more than likely going to be a wave A down, simply because well, we can't really know that for sure, but depending on what happened before this, wave A can only happen in a bull market. A zigzag down can only be an A wave, basically. So when I say A wave, I mean the larger zigzag is an A wave, not to be confused with A wave in brackets. That's just part of the zigzag. It's the first move down of a zigzag. It's the first move down of the A wave. So wave A in brackets completed in 2000, around 2000 or 2001. So after that, we corrected for about 20 years roughly. And I believe wave B ended in 2021, around the beginning few months of 2021. And since then, we've seen a move down that to me looks like it's a 5-wave move, which is what I call in RES wave terms a type 1 weak 5-wave move. Um, if you're into Elliott wave, that would mean something like a leading diagonal wave 1 pattern, except obviously it doesn't really look diagonal. So for me, I really don't like that wording, simply because it doesn't seem accurate for every scenario. But whatever, it is what it is. So wave A took quite a long time to unfold, over 20 years. So for the first part of a zigzag, that's not unusual. The first move down can be a bit weaker than what would come in the C wave. So the C wave would be the move that comes basically after wave B in brackets ended, and it would go to the same length roughly as the A in brackets, which I've got marked out on this chart as the 25-cent area, right? So that would be the same distance roughly as the move from roughly $1.50 down to the 47-cent level. And then obviously after a correction, we measure from the end of wave B the same distance, and that's roughly 25 cents. Now, I'm not going to leave this line on here because a lot of the times people think that I put that line to mark a date that I believe it's going to happen, or how long it's going to take, right? The truth is that we can't really know that. And this move down may coincide with the current US dollar move higher, or it may be prolonged in a way that certain parts of the move will occur at certain points in time as the US dollar gains strength in over the next 10, 20 years, maybe even 30 years. So if you haven't seen my US dollar idea, I will put it down in related ideas, or you can just search for the video, where basically I outline what I believe the pattern in the US dollar is, uh, according to RS Wave, of course, and just lay out a bit of a visual on that video as well that sort of outlines why I believe that's going to happen. And it's all according to a variant of the corrective patterns that occur in markets, which they repeat, but they're not always the same. Not only are they not always the same in terms of type, they're also not the same in terms of size and duration, right? So this is why I believe the waves get misconstrued quite easily a lot, and a lot of people think it's chaotic and there's no real rhythm to the waves. I don't believe that at all. I've identified the patterns. That's why I created RS Wave, and I believe that that's very easy to do now. So moving forward now, and let's go to the 4-hour chart. So we can see that basically I've zoomed in to where the high was in Feb 2021, right? And you can see that I've marked out 5 zigzags down for the wave one. So the first zigzag is there, it's a small one. Then we had a sharp correction, and then we had a wave 3 zigzag, sharp correction, and then for 4, and then a wave 5 zigzag down. So that's what I believe is happening there. If you go to the RSI, you can see that the wave 3 zigzag was the weakest part of this move. Both parts of the wave A of the wave 3 zigzag was the weakest on the RSI, and the wave C of the wave 3 zigzag was also the weakest on the RSI. So what I'm trying to say here is that the you know the point at which is the line in the sand, we cannot go above the beginning of this move at 80 cents, right? So at the moment, what I believe is happening is we are in a corrective process. It's going to be a sharp correction again, very similar to the ones I pointed out in waves 2 and 4, right? Corrections can be short and sharp. Doesn't mean they don't have all the corrective components. I call them wave components. It just means that they occurred in a shorter duration of time. If you zoom in, you can see them. I'm not going to do that in this video, but this is just a larger version of a correction that contains those waves. So in this correction, you can see that there's a zigzag, a 5-wave move, and now I believe we are in the process of a zigzag down for wave D. And then if using some confluence here, I believe wave E will also extend a bit higher back to 0.618 area, which is also the previous wave 4 of the first move down. So there's a bit of confluence around that area. So whilst we're in this part of the move, I do believe it's getting ready to go lower. It just needs to correct a bit more the first move down. Okay, now usually the reason for sharp corrections after these kinds of moves is because there is weakness in creating the move down, right? So what tends to happen then is you get a sharp correction. A lot of people may think that it's bottomed and there's a turnaround, that type of thing. But in my opinion, it's just part of how these moves correct. But then wave 3 becomes sharper, and you start to see the move gain momentum to the downside. So that's how I see this at the moment. So there is still a little bit longer to go. Part of the reason why I haven't covered this for a while is because of waiting for this move to unfold. It's not always very clear to see what's happening, but once it becomes clearer, then it makes a hell of a lot more sense to come back to it and revisit it and see what's going on. Potential short setup incoming, in my opinion, just not yet. And obviously, as this progresses, I will be tracking it due to obviously it's interesting to me. I'm from Australia, so this is our currency here, fiat currency. So it also kind of paints a little bit of a picture of how long it's going to take for the US dollar to continue to rise higher from the current levels. So if you haven't seen that US dollar idea, I will post it down below, or put a link or something. But yeah, that's basically what I see happening here. So just sort of another refresher on the Aussie dollar there as I get back into analyzing it, as I think that it's also a good measure of what's going on in the bigger picture for currencies against the US dollar. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.